Okay, good morning. Welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun with Benzion. Today's daf is Nazir daf Gimel, the second daf for Nazir. I want to talk today of the Gimel, the bottom of Gimel and Beis. It's really to the top of Dalet and Aleph. Maybe probably the most famous Iyun shir you're going to hear on Maseches Nazir, because it relates not just to Maseches Nazir, but relates to something we do every Shabbos, Kiddush and Havdalah on Friday night and Shabbos. Is it D'oraisa? They're Rabbanan. Everyone assumes Kiddush on Friday night is the one time that Kiddush is D'oraisa. During the day, on Shabbos day, it's only Rabbanan. At night, the Gemara in Pesachim says, Zachreu al yayin, Zachar on Shabbos Kadosh. Arve Leili Shabbosos, right? Mekadesh al yayin. That's D'oraisa. Now, Havdalah, at the end of Shabbos, is a question. Tamalchus Rishonim. The Rambam learns D'oraisa. Other Rishonim, and most poskim hold, Allah and the Shabur, I think, Paskin, is the Rabbanan. Right? And even Shabbos night, Friday night, a lot of poskim say, this is the famous Magen Avram, he says that Kiddush on a Friday night, even though it's D'oraisa, the Gemara says Zachrei al yayin, that's just the words of Kiddush, Zachrei al yayin. The wine has to be present, right? But what's the D'oraisa? Zachira, the words, right? You're remembering Shabbos with the words that you say, the words of Kiddush, right? And therefore the Magen Avram says you have to be careful because Friday night during Shmona Esrei, right, you're saying the words of Kiddush. You're saying in Shmona Esrei. And if you don't have Kavanah, you are the man who's davening Ma'ariv, you're already Yotzei, because Mitzvah Srichas Kavanah, we paskin, even the meaning Mitzvah Srichas Kavanah, we do normally assume that, but some poskim say Mitzvah Srichas Kavanah, and what if you have Stam Das, right? Stam Das might be like you have Kavanah. So according to Magen Avram, you're Yotzei already Kiddush, how are you Motzi, your wife, when you come home? Because she's chayiv d'oraisa. So the Gemara in Brachos says that, right, that women are also mitzuva and kiddush d'oraisa. Even though it's mitzvah shaman grama, but we connect zachar to shomor. Just like she can't do malach on Shabbos, she also has mitzvah d'oraisa to have kiddush. How could you, a derabana, be motzi d'oraisa? I've talked in Shulchan Aruch Yomi. I don't believe there's a problem with derabana being motzi d'oraisa because shomeyak own it, but most poskim, most Rishonim learn it's a problem. So the Magen Avram says based on that, you should have in mind during Friday night Shemona Esrei not to be Yotzei. It's a Magen Avram, it's Magen Avram in the Taz, but it's a famous Magen Avram. And I remember growing up trying I wasn't married, but I remember this machlokas. A lot of people told me they had kavanah specifically explicitly in Shemona Esrei not to be Yotzei with Kiddush Shemona Esrei, so they can be their wives at home. No, so that's all assuming that the Kiddush Midaraisa on Friday night is the words, the dvarim, the words, not the actual wine. So this makes sense the way according to the way article reads the Gemara, because the Gemara on the bottom of Gimel Beis says the Gemara Machlokas, the Mishnah says, right, if you take a Nazirus, you say I'm not gonna drink wine, right? That makes you a Nazir for everything, right? A complete Nazir. You can't be Tamal Mesim, you can't cut your hair, right? Rosh Hashanah says no, you have to say everything. You have to say all these Surim of the Nazirus in order to become a Nazir. Or say Areni Nazir, right? It includes all of them. But if you want to say, if you want to mention them, Areni Nazir Menachartzanim, that's not good Nazirus, right? You have to mention, if you're going to say Areni Nazir and start mentioning them, you have to mention all these Surim, according to Rabbi Shimon. The Rabbanon, how come they say, even saying Areni Nazir Menachartzanim, Areni Nazir Min Takalachat, right? That already makes you a complete Nazir. Yainu Sheikha Yazir. Yainu Sheikha is an extra pasuk. Yainu Sheikha is one of the Yisrael Nazirus. Right, so therefore, that pasuk tells you even one of them makes you a complete nazir. Rabbi Shimon Nami Yaksim Yayin Sheikh Yazir, and the bottom two lines of Gimel and Beis, he also says Yayin Sheikh Yazir. What does he do with that pasuk? He says you need to say everything. Only boy leila asar Yayin Mitzvah Ken Rishus, to tell you that Nazirus is chal not just on regular wine, but also on obligatory wine that you have to drink. For example, Ma'iki, and the Gemara says what is obligatory wine? Kedushas of Avdal, so you have to drink wine for grape juice or wine for Kiddush and Havdalah. So therefore, the Nazirus, the way I read the Gemara, therefore the Nazirus is chal on that, even though. So the Gemara immediately asks on Dalam and Aleph on the top, even the Nazirus, right? How could it go and abrogate a mitzvah d'oraisa? The Torah is mitzavu the Kayim Kiddush and Havdalah, and assuming Kiddush and Havdalah, right? The Torah is mitzavu Kiddush is d'oraisa on Friday night. And Havdalah, the Gemara is assuming also is d'oraisa. So you can't, the Nazir can't be chal on a mitzvah. Like the Gemara says in Mezachas Nadarim, I take a neder, I'm not going to sit in a sukkah. It doesn't work. The Torah says mitzvah, mushbala mahar Sinai. It doesn't work. Taking a Nazir shouldn't work. So the Gemara relents. Ela ki had amar Rava shua she'eshte chazar amar harini nazir. He says a shua that I'm going to drink wine, and then he says a nazir. So the nazir prohibits him from fulfilling his shvua, right? Because there's a way out, right? Shua she'eshte v'chazar. Why in that case, right? Even though he's mushba mahar Sinai to fulfill his shvua, however, over there he can be matir really his shvua. I think that's the reason over there he can matir his shvua, and therefore both the nazirus and the shvua don't have a problem. That's not the way our scroll learns the Gemara, because the our scroll has numerous problems. The way I just write the Gemara, our scroll is coming from Benzion, and a lot of the Rishonim say this. Is the problem they have is, first of all, Kiddush Zachreyu al Yayin. Zachreyu say the Kiddush. Most poskim hold the words of Kiddush is midaraisa, not the wine itself. So the wine is only Rabbanan. The Havdalah, right? Only the Rambam says Havdalah is daraisa, but a lot of poskim say even the words of Havdalah are Rabbanan. Certainly, the wine of Havdalah is Rabbanan. So how could the Gemara say Haroi Mushbalam Har Sinai? Rabbanan. Har Sinai. The Rabbanan came after Har Sinai. Har Sinai is Hashem, the Torah of daraisa. So they have a lot of problems with the Gemara. They also ask the question, right? Even if we were to say it is biblical, the article says. Moreover, even if the obligation to drink wine for Kiddush and Havdalah were indeed biblical, the Gemara's question could not be taken according to the usual sense of these words. On the contrary, precisely because there would otherwise be a biblical obligation to drink wine, the redundant verses state it's prohibited. Makes sense, right? The Torah says it's a mitzvah, and that's why you have an extra pasuk in the Torah to tell me, nonetheless, even though there's a mitzvah of Kiddush and Havdalah, if you take a nazir, you're prohibited from making Kiddush and Havdalah on wine. Let someone else make Kiddush. So that's what the article says. Now, the reason I read the Gemara the way I chose to read the Gemara is because I'm not so sure that Zachreu al Yayin, right? Zachreu means Kiddush D'Oraisa is the words, and also Midar Rabbanan have a cup of wine over there. Zachreu al Yayin, right? Why? Zachreu al Yayin literally means that the wine. And it really comes down to the way you interpret the mitzvah of Kiddush. I talked about in Shulchan Aruch Yom, we were talking about having a kos for Birkas Hamazon. There's two different types of kosos, shal bracha, when you have, there's a bracha on kos for Birkas Hamazon, Eris and Nisuin. A lot of times we have a kos shal bracha. So I mentioned over there in Iyun Talinon over there, what's the difference? There's two different types of kos shal bracha. There's a kos shal bracha, which is you're drinking the wine or grape juice as a celebration, which also includes being intoxicated, feeling good from the wine, enjoying the wine, champagne, something that makes you feel good. And then there's to give kavod to whatever bracha you're doing. It's an honorary thing, right? When you have a fancy occasion, you have wine over there. So what I suggested over there is that I really believe, I heard from Ray Kellemer, who was the former rabbi of Israel West Hempstead, he said that the wine of Friday night is celebratory. It's celebration. You're supposed to drink something intoxicating, or something you enjoy at least. Cream grape juice will also be something you enjoy. It's a celebration, maybe partly to be intoxicated and Havdalah also, the Rambam says that Havdalah is the Oraisa, and we'd assume like what I'm saying. Zachrei wal yayin zachro b'knisa, so zachro b'tziyasa. And part of it I explained that Shabbos, is supposed to enjoy. Also, in the Neshama Yisrael, you're supposed to forget a little bit, be intoxicated a little bit. You shouldn't be so, with it, because Neshama Yisrael, I believe, is actually a bad thing. And that's why we say, Vayav the Nafesh. Motzei Shabbos, you lost your Neshama Yisrael, and then you realize that you lost your Nefesh. There's Nefesh and Neshama. It's not the same thing. Neshama Yisrael, right, tells you to talk more, to eat more, and takes away from resting. That's the purpose of Shabbos, is to rest. We have the Neshama Yisrael as to make everything even, because on Shabbos is the day of rest. The Yetzer Hara tells us, no, enjoy, go party on Shabbos, go, talk more and be more social, and go to all these Shalom Zachars, and go to all these Kiddushim. But people just want to rest and relax. They tell you, be together with your wife on Shabbos. It requires effort over there. Really, the Gemara, they were sakin shum on Friday night, right? So you have bad breath. You shouldn't be with your wife on Friday night. And that's why, the Gemara says in Ksufos, right, Talmid Chacham, their Ona, doesn't say Leil Shabbos. It says Erev Shabbos. Erev Shabbos is Thursday night. Anyway, that's a whole long discussion. But the point is that you'll be supposed to be enjoying and intoxicated a little bit. Don't remember Shabbos. So, because it's a big struggle to rest on Shabbos. Not so easy. So if that's the pshat over here, that's the Oraisa, right? When you have, let's say, Birkas Hamazon, that's to give kavod. Birkas Erizin, to give kavod to the event that you're Makadesh, the lady. I believe for the Sheva Brachos, that's more celebratory. It could be Midoraisa. There's a mitzvah of Sheva Brachos, perhaps Midoraisa. So if that's the case, then if it's celebratory, the wine is for drinking the wine, right? That's Zachrei al Yayin, is to enjoy the wine or Kedem grape juice or to have champagne or something that's going to make you intoxicated, right? Not just to add, if it's just to add honor to the thing. So the main thing is the words, not the main thing is the kosher bracha. It's just to add honor to the words, right? So that's the opinion that says that the words. So if you say that it's celebratory and it's doraisa, so that makes sense, the Gemara. And Mushra Omer means, and the nafkamina would be that if you took a Nazirus, you'd be allowed to have wine for Kiddush and Havdalah, because Nazirus is not chal on that. That would be the nafkamina according to this also. And there's many nafkaminas, other nafkaminas, that really Kiddush on wine, the wine is doraisa, not the words doraisa, right? And therefore, you wouldn't have to worry with the Magen Avram, right, who says that when you're saying Shmona Esrei on Friday night, that it's going to exempt you already from Kiddush, because you don't have wine during your Shmona Esrei. You don't have to worry about that. That makes sense. You don't have to worry about it. That's another nafkamina over here. I'll end off, even though it's a little bit long, but I think it's a very important shir. It's actually machlokas, Rav Shimon and Rav Yehuda, right? When it comes to yayin the sheicher, when it comes to a nazir, right, Rav Shimon says it only is talking about wine specifically. Anything intoxicated, scotch, whiskey, it's not included. And according to the Rabbanan, right, it's possible that by Nazirus you also can't get intoxicated with scotch or whiskey, right? They learned to the Beis HaMikdash, right? Even Dvei Lakilis, right? You eat a fig which is fermented, prohibits you going to the Beis HaMikdash. It's possible also, according to Rabbi Yehuda, who reflects the opinion of the Rabbanan who argue on Reb Shimon, that even by a Nazirus you also couldn't have things which intoxicate you, which don't come from a grape at all. If they intoxicate you, it's also included in Nazirus. That would be another nafkamina coming out from over here. And it would make sense because, according to the Rabbanan, right, the whole point of the Kiddush and Havdalah is to intoxicate you, to make you to enjoy yourself and to not, be so cognizant of everything that's going on over here, to inebriate you a little bit, because it's not just wine; it's about the inebriation. So that's really, there's so many nafkaminas that come out of it, but maybe we'll talk a little more about this going forward. I know it's a 12-minute shir. There's some people that claim to have a 7 or 8 minute Iyun shir on every daf in the Gemara. There's a couple, not too many people can do it, and most of them just give Mara Makomos. They just read from Mara Makomos Sefer, and they claim 7 minutes. They do it in 12 minutes. I claim 8 minutes. I do it in 8 minutes, or sometimes under 8 minutes. Today is the one exception, because it's a really important shir. So many nafkaminas. I believe the way I read the Gemara is the right way. Kiddush, you don't have to worry about Magen Avram on Friday night, and Kiddush and Havdalah is doraisa, and you better have something that either tastes good or intoxicates you, and you enjoy it. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.